What's going on, guys? So, you know how it is camping, you're just trying to find stuff to do. And I have seen a lot of people on my friends list talking about that they don't understand, they don't really know a lot about the Israeli Palestinian conflict. So I thought I would. This is pretty much what I focused on in college, was that whole region. So I thought I would just import what I know in video form because I'm camping and I'm thinking about stuff and cheers. So, all right. So let's start with just the modern history. It's Israel was created in 1948 after it was pretty much like right around the UN started becoming a thing, and it was they were granted the land, which is, I mean, it was never anybody. It was Palestinian land before 1948, and they just kind of gave this land. They gave Jerusalem and this whole area, which is like, getting into Jerusalem by itself is just being like the holy center of all the Abrahamic religions. Is It's a very important place, regardless of what you believe in. And then a lot of that converges right there. You got Jewish and Christianity and Muslim faiths all focused very heavily on that area. Um, so they created the state of Israel in 1948 after the atrocities that were committed against the Jewish people by Nazi Germany, of course, and which, they had a pretty fucking rough deal. I won't lie. It was a concession. I think it was it was pretty shitty. 6 million people. But so, I mean, I don't really know what happened between 1948 and 1967, but in 1967, uh, you had the 7 Day War between Egypt and Israel, and which created the modern borders of what we know as Israel today. It's and that's most scholars, when they talk about what the Palestinians want, it's like, that's, you go back to the 1967 war, because they just want their partition back. They don't it's because they got screwed, right? And so after that, I don't exactly know when the U.S. started investing so heavily in Israel, but it's basically a foothold in the region for them. And if you don't know what a foothold is, it's like Omaha Beach was a foothold. They stormed the beach, they got control, and it created a place to have have an action point where they can continue onward in a secure area. So that happened, and so okay, it's so complicated. So then the Cold War is going on, right? The Cold War started, and all that region, that whole region, just became proxy states, and it still is to this day. It's still proxy states. Like Iran is backed by Russia. Saudi Arabia is a fucking nightmare, and they just kind of do whatever they want because they got so much money. Who's going to tell them not to? And so then we won the Cold War pretty much, I guess. I mean, I don't know if anyone really actually won or lost, but I guess you could say we won. Because then they started putting McDonald's in Russia and shit, so we pretty much won the Cold War. And but these proxy states are still proxy states. Nothing has changed from the Cold War in that region. It's, you got Iran, Syria, Lebanon, uh, Egypt's kind of doing its own thing now since they had the Arab Spring, but that whole region is just it's a microcosm of the Cold War and what happened after we won, because we didn't the fighting never stopped. It's just we got the Eastern European states, and now it's all focused on that area. And it has been for 40 years, 50 years now, and but Israel has taken it upon themselves to think they are entitled to whatever they want, right? It's they're becoming imperialists, and they're becoming the very thing that they ran from. They're becoming the very thing that they got a whole country created for. They are turning into just land grabbers, pretty much. It's disgusting what Israel does, and we don't hear about it a lot here. And so I can see why people are confused, because as far as America is concerned, Israel, yes, is number one ally. Yes, good, very good. And so we give Israel more aid than any other country. I mean, we just load them with money, all the latest gear, all everything. It's like you just go fucking make it scorched earth, turn that shit into glass. We don't give a fuck. That's how America feels. And so right now, what's going on right now? Okay, before I get into that, so there's been a continual problem with Zionists, right? There's a big difference between Israelis and Zionists. And Zionists are they basically think it's what do we call it with they basically think it's manifest destiny for their area, or whatever they want, I guess. I don't know. And so they go in and they level Palestinian settlements that are in Palestinian land, mind you. This is not Israeli land where these people are doing this. They're going in and they're annexing Palestinian land to make Israeli settlements for the Zionists. And you just really don't hear about it here. And there's, I mean, it's the Middle East. It's a desert. It's water is a big issue out there. So basically, Israel has just completely usurped any water rights that the Palestinians might have, and it's. I mean, I'd be fucking pissed too. I don't blame them one bit. And then they go out and like a kid throws a rock at a IDF tank, and then they fucking shoot the kid. I mean, like we talk about police violence, but the IDF is just a nightmare. They have become a total authoritarian fucking just juggernaut, right? And so yeah, I mean that's so right now what's going on is they were starting to annex another piece of Palestinian land, and it's actually like a suburb kind of area. It's like developed, and they're trying to kick Palestinians out of that area so they could take the land. And then they went and then the IDF went and leveled, just leveled. Like, I'm not even being facetious here. They completely leveled a press building that the AP was housed in, that Al Jazeera was housed in. They gave them an hour warning, and I mean, if you saw the video of the people scrambling to get their shit out of there, it's fucking horrifying. And so then they just completely leveled the building because there's suspicion of Hamas being in there. Completely leveled a free press building because there was suspicion of Hamas. And people will say, well, what about Hamas firing rockets in Israel? They didn't fucking start it. They're retaliating because of what Israel did. They are not the aggressors here. They're just trying to protect their land. And it's a terrible situation because you criticize Israel and people will be like, oh, you're an anti-Semite. No, you're not an anti-Semite. You can criticize the government of Israel for their actions, what they do in their region, without criticizing the religion of Judaism. There's not it's two different things. There's no, like, you can't. People don't understand it. I don't know. So that's what's going on right now. Is Israel is just being a fucking nightmare again, and Hamas is retaliating, and I don't know. I'm up camping now. I don't know what the current situation is, what it was when I left earlier. So I hope you guys learned something.